Hello friends. In the glamorous world of Hollywood, where image often overshadows truth, there are countless stories that remain hidden behind bright lights and red carpets. Among them lies a fascinating secret: the racial heritage of some of the industry's most beloved icons. You might think you know these stars by heart, but their ancestry tells a much deeper story, one of pride, identity, and resilience. The idea that someone could be both a celebrated figure and part of a lineage society once tried to erase challenges our very perception of fame and race. It forces us to ask, what does it really mean to look black? And why has that question mattered so much in entertainment history? From Golden Age legends like Clark Gable, whose rumored black ancestry was quietly buried by old Hollywood studios, to the sparkling Broadway queen Carol Channing, who proudly revealed her African American roots later in life. The truth about these figures reveals a hidden thread woven through American culture. Modern names like Wentworth Miller and Pete Wentz continue this dialogue today, reminding us that identity is complex, more than just appearance or assumption. This exploration isn't about labels. It's about rediscovering the human stories behind the faces we thought we knew and celebrating the diverse bloodlines that shaped them. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood's hidden bloodline. When people think of classic Hollywood, one of the first faces that comes to mind is Clark Gable, the dashing, square-jawed leading man of Gone with the Wind and It Happened One Night. His charm defined an era. His masculinity became the standard for generations of actors, and his very name became synonymous with movie star. Yet behind that iconic smile and undeniable charisma lies a secret that Hollywood never wanted the world to see. Born in 1901 in Cadiz, Ohio, Gable grew up far from the glitz and glamour he would later embody. His rise from a humble working-class boy to the undisputed king of Hollywood is a story of pure American ambition, but it's also shadowed by whispers of a hidden ancestry. For decades, rumors have circulated that Gable's paternal grandmother was black, a fact that, if true, would have been scandalous in the racially segregated entertainment world of the 1930s. At that time, Hollywood's image-making machine was ruthless. Studio executives controlled every aspect of a star's identity, from how they spoke, dressed, and loved, to who the public believed they were. Any hint of non-white heritage could destroy an actor's career overnight. Especially for someone as prominent as Carol Channing was the embodiment of Broadway glamour, with her platinum blonde hair, wide smile, and unmistakable stage presence. She lit up shows like Hello, Dolly, and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. For most of her life, the world saw her as the quintessential white Broadway diva. But behind the dazzling lights and sequins was a truth she only revealed later in her career. Her father was half black. Born in Seattle in 1921, Channing grew up during a time when racial identity was not only socially rigid but often dangerous to discuss openly. Her father, George Channing, passed as white to protect his family from discrimination, and Carol herself didn't learn about her African American ancestry until she was a teenager. When she finally spoke about it publicly decades later, it wasn't as a confession but as a celebration. "My father's mother was black, I'm proud of that," she once said. Her revelation stunned many in the entertainment world, where race had long dictated opportunity. What makes Channing's story so powerful is that she didn't try to rewrite her history, she embraced it. In an era when many performers felt pressured to hide their lineage, her honesty broke a silent taboo in show business. She challenged the industry's obsession with appearances and taught audiences that heritage is not something to conceal, but to honor. Carol Channing's light didn't just shine from the stage, it came from the courage to own every part of herself. Wentworth Miller, breaking out of Hollywood's boxes. Best known for his unforgettable role as Michael Scofield in Prison Break, Wentworth Miller became a global sensation for his intelligence, quiet strength, and piercing blue eyes. But what many fans didn't know when he first rose to fame was that Miller is of mixed heritage. His father is African American with Jamaican roots, and his mother is white. Born in England and raised in Brooklyn, he often faced confusion and even skepticism about his identity. Hollywood, still struggling with representation, didn't quite know where to place him. Miller himself has spoken candidly about feeling invisible, too light-skinned to be seen as black. yet not white enough to be accepted as such. His openness about his racial background, as well as his mental health and sexuality, turned him into more than an actor. He became a symbol of truth in an industry built on illusion. By acknowledging his complexities, he forced the public to confront theirs. In interviews, he explained that identity isn't a fixed category, it's layered, evolving, and deeply personal. His courage to speak up about depression and belonging made him an inspiration far beyond his acting career. Wentworth Miller's story reminds us that breaking out of prison walls isn't just fiction, it's also a metaphor for freeing oneself from the labels society imposes. Pete Wentz, the rock star with Caribbean roots. To millions of fans, Pete Wentz is the high-energy bassist and lyricist behind Fall Out Boy, a punk rock icon who helped define the emo music era of the 2000s. With his eyeliner, moody lyrics, and rebellious persona, Wentz seemed like the product of suburban alt-rock culture. But what many don't realize is that he carries a rich heritage that connects him to Jamaica. His mother is of Afro-Jamaican descent, and his grandfather even served in the Caribbean during World War II. Although he doesn't often foreground his racial background, Wentz has spoken in interviews about how his multicultural identity shaped his worldview and creativity. In a genre dominated by white faces, his roots make him part of a rarely acknowledged lineage of black influence in rock and punk music, from Little Richard to Bad Brains. His quiet pride in that heritage speaks volumes. Rather than turning it into a headline, Wentz lets it exist naturally within who he is, a reminder that black identity doesn't look just one way. Nor does it fit a single cultural mold. Behind the dark clothes and stage lights is an artist who embodies the diversity of modern music, whether fans realize it or not. Rashida Jones, redefining what it means to be black enough. Rashida Jones grew up surrounded by fame and artistry, the daughter of legendary music producer Quincy Jones and actress Peggy Lipton. She was born into a world that celebrated creativity but quietly struggled with race. With her light complexion and delicate features, Rashida was often mistaken for being white, a misconception that followed her throughout her career. Yet beneath the surface, she has always carried both black and white heritage proudly, a duality that deeply shaped her sense of identity. Growing up in Los Angeles, Rashida experienced what she once described as a strange middle space, not fully accepted by either side. While some people questioned her connection to black culture, others viewed her as too fair to belong. Instead of allowing that confusion to define her, she turned it into strength. Through her roles in Parks and Recreation, The Office, and Angie Tribeca, Jones has become a quiet force of representation, someone who refuses to be boxed in by appearance. Off-screen, she has been outspoken about the absurdity of racial stereotypes, challenging society's narrow definitions of what it means to look or act black. Her perspective reflects a modern truth. Identity isn't something you perform for others, it's something you live. Rashida Jones's story is more than just one of success in Hollywood. It's a reminder that embracing all sides of who you are can be the most powerful statement of all. Troyan Bellisario, the hidden heritage behind the Hollywood face. Known to millions as Spencer Hastings from Pretty Little Liars, Troyan Bellisario captivated audiences with her intelligence, elegance, and emotional depth. But behind her seemingly all-American image lies a story few fans know: her father. Veteran producer Donald Bellisario has Creole ancestry, a heritage that includes African roots. Troyan's background reflects the quiet diversity often overlooked in Hollywood, where outward appearance has long dictated assumptions. While Bellisario rarely speaks publicly about her racial heritage, the reality adds another layer to how we perceive representation. Her light skin allows her to move through an industry that privileges whiteness. But it also places her in a lineage of multiracial Americans whose identities were shaped by generations of cultural blending. Her story mirrors a recurring theme in Hollywood history: that race is not always visible. Yet it is always present in the story of America. In an age where authenticity is valued more than ever, Troyan Bellisario stands as an example of how identity can exist quietly, powerfully, and truthfully, even without public declaration. 7. Naomi Osaka, the power of pride and dual identity. Few athletes have transformed global sports culture like Naomi Osaka. the soft-spoken yet fierce tennis champion who represents both Japan and Haiti. Born to a Japanese mother and a Haitian father, Osaka's rise to fame broke barriers far beyond the tennis court. She forced Japan, and the world, to confront what it means to be both Asian and black in a society that often struggles with racial diversity. When Osaka won her first Grand Slam at just 20 years old, she did more than secure a trophy, she redefined national identity. Osaka's decision to speak openly about her heritage, her struggles with mental health, and her experiences with racism has made her a voice of a new generation, one that values authenticity over perfection. She proudly wears her curls, honors both sides of her family, and refuses to choose one over the other. In interviews, she has said she hopes her journey will inspire young people who feel different to stand tall in their truth. Naomi Osaka's story isn't just about tennis. It's about courage, the courage to exist fully in a world that still tries to divide what should be celebrated as whole. Halsey, between two worlds, owning every shade of herself. At first glance, pop star Halsey, born Ashley Nicolette Frangipane, might seem like the image of a modern white indie icon, blue hair, pale skin, and edgy style. But behind the stage persona is a story of heritage and identity that's as real as her lyrics. Her father, Chris Frangipane, is African American with some Irish ancestry, and her mother, Nicole, is of Italian and Hungarian descent. Growing up in a mixed-race family in New Jersey, Halsey often felt caught between worlds, too white to fit in with black peers, yet too black to feel fully accepted by white communities. That tension shaped her voice as both an artist and a woman. Unlike many stars who hide or downplay their heritage, Halsey has always been open about her biracial background, using her platform to talk about colorism, representation, and cultural belonging. She has spoken candidly about how her pale skin sometimes gives her privilege. Even as she continues to identify as a black woman, through her music and activism, from Without Me to Graveyard, she channels that sense of duality into powerful emotion. Her honesty about identity, mental health, and social justice makes her not just a pop star but a storyteller of modern diversity. In a world obsessed with labels, Halsey is a living reminder that identity doesn't need permission to be complex. Jennifer Beals, dancing between two worlds. Long before the world talked about diversity in film, Jennifer Beals lived it. The breakout star of Flashdance, 1983, that iconic sweat-drenched dancer in the off-shoulder sweatshirt, grew up biracial in an America still uncomfortable with difference. Her mother is Irish American, and her father was African American, a blend that shaped both her worldview and her art. In interviews, Beals has said she often felt like she didn't fit anywhere. Too light to be accepted in black spaces, yet too black for others. She found refuge in creativity, in storytelling, movement, and performance. When Flashdance became a global phenomenon, few viewers knew her heritage. Hollywood marketed her as racially ambiguous, never emphasizing her black identity. But as Beals grew older, she became more vocal, embracing her roots publicly and using her fame to push for representation and inclusion. Later, in The L Word, she specifically requested her character be written as biracial, a reflection of her real life. Beals has since used her platform to advocate for women's rights, racial equality, and LGBTQ visibility. Her journey is more than just one of success. It's the story of someone who learned that authenticity, not conformity, is the truest kind of power. Slash, the rock legend with rhythm in his roots. With his top hat, wild curls, and Gibson Les Paul, Slash is instantly recognizable as one of the greatest guitarists in rock history. But what many don't realize is that behind the hard rock image lies a deep and proud black heritage. Born Saul Hudson in London to an English father and an African American mother, Slash's background shaped him in ways that go far beyond music. His mother, Ola Hudson, was a celebrated costume designer who dressed stars like David Bowie, while his father, Anthony Hudson, was a British artist. Growing up between London and Los Angeles, Slash was exposed to two worlds, one of British creativity and another rooted in African American artistry. That mix of influences flowed straight into his guitar playing, raw, emotional, and soulful beneath the distortion. Slash has often spoken about how proud he is of his black roots, acknowledging the influence of his mother's culture on his sense of rhythm and musicality. In a world that often stereotypes rock as white music, Slash stands as proof that black creativity is everywhere, in jazz, blues, funk, and yes, even hard rock. His very existence challenges the boundaries of genre and identity, reminding us that music, like heritage, has no color. Beyond Skin Deep. Redefining what it means to be black in Hollywood. The stories of these celebrities, from Clark Gable to Naomi Osaka, from Rashida Jones to Slash, reveal one undeniable truth. Identity isn't something that can be measured by skin tone or simplified by stereotypes. For decades, Hollywood sold the world a filtered version of beauty and race, one where the spotlight often favored those who could pass as white or fit neatly into expectations. Yet as these stories show, the reality behind the camera has always been more diverse, more complex, and more human. Each of these public figures carried a hidden history, not out of shame, but out of necessity in an industry that once silenced difference. Clark Gable quietly defied prejudice on movie sets. Carol Channing reclaimed her truth at 80 years old. Wentworth Miller turned his dual identity into strength. Rashida Jones, Naomi Osaka, and Halsey each remind us that being black isn't a single experience, it's a spectrum of stories, cultures, and pride. Today, the curtain is finally lifting. The entertainment world is beginning to celebrate, not conceal, the many shades of its talent. These celebrities are not anomalies, they're proof of the richness that has always existed in the fabric of fame. Their journeys challenge us to rethink what representation truly means and to understand that heritage doesn't define limits, it expands them. In the end, the question isn't, who's really black? It's, why did it take us so long to see them? Because the truth has always been there, written in their strength, their art, and their courage to be fully themselves, no matter what color the world decided to see.